Have you ever heard of a light that moves on its own through the forests of Brazil, burning everything in its path, but never consuming itself? A creature made of fire, with eyes that seem to look straight into your soul. They call it Boitatá. But is it just a legend meant to scare children and warn reckless hunters? Or is it something older, ancient, beyond our understanding? Imagine being alone in a forest at night, and suddenly a bright light appears among the trees. It moves fast, winding, almost alive, and you realize there's no human around. Every step you take echoes, and the flame seems to react, coming closer, then moving away as if it's watching. They say anyone who dares follow Boitatá's light is in danger. They could vanish, get lost forever, or even have their life claimed by a fire that never dies. But what if this legend is more than just stories told around campfires? What if, somewhere in the Brazilian forests, Boitatá still roams, protecting the woods and punishing those who disrespect them? Get ready to step into a world where fire has consciousness, where myth meets reality, and where every shadow could hide something that defies logic. Boitatá is one of the oldest and most enigmatic creatures in Brazilian folklore. Its name, coming from the Tupi-Guarani language and literally meaning fire snake, already gives us a clue about its nature. An entity connected to the forests, to fire, and to the protection of nature. Originating from indigenous traditions, Boitatá appears as a guardian of the woods, showing up for those who try to destroy or disrespect nature. For centuries, stories about it were passed down orally, warning hunters, loggers, and travelers about the dangers of entering forests without respect. But Boitatá isn't just a moral myth. It's also a mysterious presence, capable of stirring both fear and fascination. Some accounts describe it as a giant serpent made of flames, with eyes that seem to pierce the soul of anyone who meets its gaze. Others speak of a light that moves on its own through the forest, frightening even the bravest. Across indigenous legends, colonial records, and modern reports, Boitatá always appears as a warning. The forest is watching, and its protectors will not tolerate destruction. In this video, we'll dive into this ancient legend, explore its most intriguing stories, bars, and try to answer the question that has fascinated curious minds for centuries. Is Boitatá just a story for children, or is something far more real lurking in the Brazilian forests? The story of Boitatá varies from region to region, but it always carries the same thread: a fiery presence that protects the forests and punishes anyone who threatens them. According to indigenous tradition, Boitatá was born from the souls of animals killed by human hands. These spirits transformed into fire, giving rise to a luminous serpent that roams the forests. Its purpose: to guard nature and punish those who bring destruction. Picture this: you're walking alone through a dense forest. Night has fallen, and everything is silent except for the rustling of leaves. Suddenly, a bright light appears among the trees, dancing and moving as if it has a life of its own. Some accounts say it can transform into a giant fire serpent, with eyes that mesmerize and intimidate at the same time. The heat it radiates doesn't burn those watching from afar, but it evokes fear and a sense of a supernatural presence. Many believe the light approaches those who disrespect the forest, and then strange events begin. Animals flee, trees shake, and even the ground seems to react. Over the centuries, stories have emerged of people who encountered Boitatá. Some speak of lagers who, after cutting trees in forbidden areas, saw a brilliant light follow their steps until they vanished from the forest without a trace. Others recount disoriented travelers who saw Boitatá guiding them, but in a threatening way, as if testing their courage or respect for nature. In certain versions, Boitatá appears during forest fires, making it impossible to tell whether the fire is natural or if the entity itself is manifesting. The mystery deepens when we notice that Boitatá is described in different forms. In some places, it's a gigantic fire snake. In others, a floating light that takes various shapes. And some say that if you try to observe it up close, it transforms into smoke or vanishes suddenly, leaving only the feeling that something ancient and powerful was there. This variety of accounts fuels the question: is Boitatá merely a metaphor created to teach respect for the forest, or a real entity whose appearances still defy explanation? Furthermore, the legend isn't limited to protecting the forests. Some believe Boitatá is also a guardian of ancient secrets, a keeper of mysteries humans should never uncover. Its appearances are linked not only to destructive human actions, but also to those who dare seek forbidden knowledge, hidden paths of nature, or sacred places forgotten by time. In this context, Boitatá is not just a vengeful creature, but an ancestral protector whose existence challenges logic and inspires both fear and fascination. As we delve deeper into the legend, we realize that Boitatá is more than just a myth. It is a symbol of nature, as power of indigenous ancestry, and of the respect humans must have for the world around them. Every story, every account of a light among the trees or a serpent of fire reminds us that some mysteries cannot be controlled or fully explained. And perhaps that is exactly what makes Boitatá so fascinating. It reminds us that not everything can be seen or touched, yet the invisible can still be real and threatening. Throughout history, encounters with Boitatá have always been shrouded in mystery and terror. Ancient and modern accounts blend together, weaving a web of stories that seems impossible to explain. There are accounts of nighttime travelers who, walking along isolated trails, spotted an intense light moving almost consciously, weaving around trees and rocks as if it had a will of its own. Some claim to have seen the light grow, transforming into a serpent of fire, with eyes that burned hotter than any ordinary flame eyes, that seemed to see straight into their intentions. A famous case involves a group of hunters in the Brazilian interior, who claimed to have completely lost track of time while following a mysterious light in the forest. With every step they took, the light seemed to evade them, leading them into unknown places, till suddenly it vanished, leaving only scorch marks on the ground and partially charred trees. The men left the forest terrified, yet with the feeling that they had witnessed something that would never be fully understood. Another account, this time from a 20th century farmer, describes a night when a fire suddenly broke out on his property. He ran to try to contain the flames and, amid the fire, saw a luminous creature slithering across the field. Strangely, the fire seemed to follow the creature's shape, burning only what was necessary to leave traces of its passage. The sight terrified him, and from that day on, he vowed never to explore parts of the forest without caution, always remembering that some forces cannot be controlled. Mas nem todos os relatos são assustadores. Some speak of more enigmatic encounters, where Boitatá appears as a light guiding lost travelers through the forest, leading them safely to familiar trails. These accounts reinforce the idea that the creature is not only vengeful, but also protective. The ambiguity of Boitatá, capable of both punishing and protecting only, heightens the fascination and fear it inspires. What's most intriguing is that, despite so many accounts, there is no concrete proof of Boitatá's existence. Photographs and footage are rare, and almost always inconclusive, leaving only memories of mysterious lights and shapes that defy explanation. Scientists suggest natural phenomena, like flammable gases or light reflections. But for those who have encountered Boitatá, none of this explains the sense of a conscious presence, the piercing gaze that seems to see straight into the human heart. And it is precisely this doubt that keeps Boitatá alive in popular imagination. Is it merely a metaphor, a story invented to teach respect for nature? Or could it be a real, ancient, and powerful entity that still roams the Brazilian forests, watching and judging every human step? Each account leaves a mark, each story deepens the mystery. And the question remains, would you have the courage to follow the light that never goes out, knowing that you might be facing something that defies logic and the world as we know it? Boitatá isn't just a legend told around campfires or in folklore books. It's a powerful symbol of nature's force, of indigenous ancestry, and of the respect we must have for the world around us. Every story, every light that appears among the trees, reminds us that not everything can be controlled or explained. There are ancient, invisible forces still watching our actions. And perhaps it's this very uncertainty that makes Boitatá's story so fascinating. Does it really exist, moving silently through the Brazilian forests? Or is it just human imagination, turning fear and respect for the woods into lights that dance at night? The answer may never be known. But hearing these stories reminds us that nature has its guardians and we should never underestimate them. If shivers ran down your spine while hearing about Boitatá, if the mystery and suspense stirred your curiosity, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Urban Secrets channel. Here we dive into the darkest legends, the oldest mysteries, and stories that challenge reality. And remember, the next time you walk through a forest at night, stay alert. Maybe a light that never goes out is watching you.